blood type is? Have you ever stopped to wonder? If you don't know, have you ever stopped to wonder how it affects your life? Well, it affects our life more than we think. I never was really interested. I just knew, okay, well, my blood type was negative or whatever, but I never stopped to wonder how it affects your whole life. Because today, in this episode of Tea Talk with Danny, we're going to be discussing our blood type. But today, I'm going to probably do this as a 2 or 3 part series, because today we're going to be looking at the Rh negative blood, because that's what I am. I'm Rh negative, and I never really realized how important it was to know this, because, or not only to know it, but I knew it, but I just did not know how it affects so much. So this is going to be Tea Talk with Annie, and today's tea we're having some nettle, rosemary, and some chamomile. And the chamomile is in there strictly to I'm spilling my tea. The chamomile is in there strictly to just calm me down, because this is a topic that, I have been doing some research on it for the last 2 weeks or so, but it is still not a topic that I know very well, because I'm going to be dealing with a lot of different topics on this channel. I'm not only going to be dealing with spiritual warfare and all that, I'm going to be dealing with other topics in like, how do you know that your light is shining? The things that, but anyway, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, and I'm not going to spill the beans. So this topic is going to be a very touchy topic. So what I'm going to do, I am going to have some notes in front of me so I don't forget anything. So every now and again, you might see me looking at my notes. All right? So come get your tea and come join me. All right? So we are going to start by me just sharing a little testimony with you. Now, when my first daughter was born, they told me because of my blood type, they have to give me this injection so that the baby's blood does not mix with my blood. And I said, okay, because I was young. I didn't understand. I was like only 21 or something. So I didn't think that those things were very important. So I said, okay. And day after, I didn't even know if it was after or if it was before. I don't even know when it was, but they had to give me this injection. And that's because I have Rh negative blood. And for those of you that don't know, those people with Rh negative blood, and I'm not only Rh negative, but I'm also negative all around. So for those of you that don't know about the blood types and all of that thing, like myself, because I didn't know, Rh well, I knew this part, that the negative blood is a very rare blood type, and there are only 15% of people in the world with this blood type. And out of all those billions of people that we have in this world, only 15% has this rare blood type. And another thing that I knew is that we cannot accept transfusions from anybody else, only someone with the same blood type. Whereas we can give blood to anybody. The A, B, C, well, not C, but A, B, and O. And I did not, for me, all of this was pretty new for me. And coming back to there are only 15% of people in the world with this blood type. And, they're alleging a lot of things about the blood type because scientists can't figure out where this blood type came from. So they're alleging a couple of stuff. But let's get into the topic now. And as I said, I'm going to go to my notes because this whole discovery with the difference in the blood type was realized in 1940 by Dr. Carl Landsteiner and Alexander Wellner. All right. And the thing about this blood type is how they figure it out is because other blood types have a certain protein that does something with the red blood cells. I don't even know, because we're all learning this together, okay? And we don't have that protein. And people with Rh negative don't have that protein. And if we're O, we don't have a certain protein as well. So, don't know, there are 8 different types of blood groups. There's A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative, O negative, and O positive. So for those of you that know your blood type, would know which category you are in. So it says here that these genes are largely found in Caucasians. Now, I have, I think I am not sure about my son, but I think all my girls have Rh negative. No, they don't have. The 2 of them, 2 have Rh positive, and 1, just like me, has Rh negative. And scientists are still trying to figure out what this blood type comes from. But what they did is the Rh was named after the rhesus monkey. And I am not sure why they name it after the rhesus monkey, but that is what the Rh stands for. It stands for rhesus. And this tea is very nice. Y'all got y'all tea? I hope that y'all get y'all tea. I'm trying to drink as much as possible before it gets too cold. And the chamomile in there is a calming tea, and the nettle then is an antihistamine. It helps with allergies, and it helps. And around this time, when so much people have allergies, including me, this is the good time to be drinking some nettle tea. And then the rosemary, I just like the taste of rosemary, so I just put it in because, but it is good for your hair and it is good for your skin. So if you take it from the inside, it is going to be very beneficial for you because your hair strands grow from inside your scalp. So anyway, that was off the topic a little, but let's get back to this whole thing now. Now, for me, this was a very interesting topic. And why it was so interesting is because when you're young and doctors tell you certain things, you don't know why they're telling you these things. You just automatically trust the doctors and everything else. But the reason at the time they told me I had to get an injection is because with this blood type, what happens is when you're pregnant and your blood and the child might be a positive child, like a positive or O positive or something like that, they don't want the two bloods like mingling into one another, because what happens is that the negative blood is a very aggressive blood because it is a warrior because it thinks that the child is a foreign object trying to invade. So what the negative blood does is that it is so aggressive that it would kill that foreign object. So your baby could die, something else to happen, whatever. But it is a good thing that they've learned, because, before they knew this, we wondering how much babies died before they understood why they died. Because this was only understood in the 1940s, and that's not very long ago. So, and a lot of times that's why before you get married, I didn't know why, but they don't seem to do it very often now at all. But that's why before you got married, what they used to do is tell you that you need to go and get a blood test done. And I always wondered, well, we only getting married. Why do we have to go and get a blood test done? You know what I mean? And that is why. So that they could see the difference in the blood. And because what happens is that they'll be able to be more proactive, I guess, in the blood and all. Yeah, so they would be able to know, okay, well, the father is positive and the mother is negative, so it is a high probability that the child is going to be positive, so they'll be able to be proactive in doing what they have to do, because they would have already known what to expect. Because 95% of the time, those days, when you get married, you're gonna have a child, at least one child. soon after. So it is always good to know your blood type and know the man's blood type so that you'll be able to know how to deal with it, because you will go into it knowing, okay, well, my blood is negative, his is positive, so we don't want anything to happen to the baby. So we are going to deal with this in advance. There is a group of people, and y'all probably would have heard this because all of this is research that was done via Google and the internet and everywhere. So there is a group of people between France and, what is it? Is it between France and Spain? Up in the mountains there, that speak their own language. I mean, there's just a group of people, and 40% of those people that live in that area, and they're called the Basque, and that's Basque. They're called the Basque people, and they call it the Basque County or country or whatever they call it. But this, to me too, was interesting, because I did not even know that. And there are 40% of those people that have this blood type, because obviously they're not connected that much to the outside world. So they marry into, maybe not their own families, but they marry into the people of that place, because they have their own language and everything that nobody else speaks, and nobody else can understand that language. And I thought that was super interesting and very fascinating. So that is another thing with that blood type. And there are theories out there. And we are going to go through those theories. But for now, we're just looking at the history a little bit, because we're wondering, well, where did this come from? Where did this blood type come from? Because our DNA is different to a lot of people, and because of having this blood type, we are not as susceptible to certain diseases as other people that has the positive, the Rh positive, because of our genes. Our genes are not susceptible to have certain disease, to get certain diseases. And that is another thing I thought was really fascinating. It was so fascinating, because quite frankly, not that anybody else is more special than the other person, but when I was doing this research, I felt special, because I felt as though, well, yeah, did choose me for a purpose, because I always felt, and for those of you that feel the same way, just leave a comment, because I always felt from a child growing up, because there were a lot of things that I could see and that I know, and that other people couldn't see, and they didn't know, and I also felt as though I didn't belong to this earth, because I always felt as though I was just a wanderer in a strange place. And for those of you that felt that way growing up and stuff like that, and hence, because of feeling that way, I end up at 11 years old because my life was so hard and so different. It was though because of the calling on my life, so many things were happening to me. And hence that is why at 11 years old, I tried to commit suicide. And I mean, because I always felt as though I didn't belong. And why does things have to be so hard for me? So for those of you that felt the same way, leave a comment. Leave a comment. And if you are somewhat enjoying this, I hope I'm doing it justice. That's the truth. But if you're somewhat enjoying this topic, this will be the perfect time to give me a like and share this information with somebody that want to see a face bringing this information, and not just faceless channels, and because there's so many faceless channels out there. But so yeah, so I always felt as though I didn't belong. And this channel is going to go, we are going to be looking at so much interesting topics, some different topics, and not only spiritual warfare and stuff like that. Yeah, it would be spiritual warfare, but from a different perspective. So I hope that you just continue to follow me and stay with this channel, because this is a very small channel and I'm trying to build my channel now, because I do believe that I have some interesting information. I used to put my faith-based topics on my other channel, which is called Sweet Annie's Naturals now. And so I have quite a few faith-based faith-based topics on there as well, which I would try to see if I could get some uploaded to this channel, because I do think that a lot of times the information is very important, and it is good information, if I do say so myself. And I am not, as you can see, I'm more of a laid-back person. I am not a person that will scream and shout and talk loud, because that's just not me. I'm not that kind of person that brings over topics. So if you like my style, then you are part of my tribe, because I do believe that the Most High is sending me my tribe this year. So let's see what else we have here. Most of the world did not have it until colonization started in the 1500s. And that's because this blood type came from Europe. It came from up that side in Europe. And it says it didn't exist in Africa. It didn't exist in Asia, only Europe. So that's where that blood type came from. It came from Europe. And as I said, they have alleged certain things, and I have my theories as well. I have my theories about it as well, because I've done, as I said, I've done studies on spiritual warfare. But we won't go into all of that because it's just my theories, it's just my thoughts. And one of the theories that is going on around there is that the Nephilims are responsible for the RH negative group, and it is just alleged. So we really don't know that for sure, but I do believe that it comes from the angels. So I have a few pointers here because it says people with Rh negative blood has a higher than average IQ. Now, for me, I'm not even sure, but it has a higher than average IQ and then lower body temperature. Now, I could somewhat attest to that. Higher blood pressure. And I could somewhat attest to that because there were a lot of times that, I went to the doctors and they would always tell me, oh, your pressure is high, or whatever the case may be. But I realized I have a monitor, and I realized that in checking my pressure sometimes average around 140 over 80 or something like that, which, they always say is supposed to be 120. But the thing about it is that you can't say that because everybody's pressure might not be the same. So you can't do it across the board for everybody. But, now it ranges between 130 something over 80 or whatever. But that is an interesting one. So they have higher blood pressure. And they say that I have my computer here as well. So they say that they have red to reddish hair, which, obviously a lot of the times in darker tones, we're not going to be the ones that have the reddish hair. And this one I found interesting. And we have an extra vertebrae in the back. An extra vertebrae in the back. And they're sensitive to sunlight. Now, this is something I could attest to. My eyes have always been sensitive to sunlight, hence that's why I squint a lot. And when I don't have on my shades, I squint, and because I squint so much, sometimes I got all the squint lines in my forehead, and not only that, but getting back to the sensitive to sunlight. A few years ago, I went to the eye specialist up here actually to get my eyes checked, to get my glasses about maybe 4 years ago. And the lady said to me, you need to wear glasses, not glasses, you need to wear shades all the time when you go out because your eyes are sensitive to sunlight. And when I saw this part, I thought that was pretty interesting because she said that to me like no other eye specialist has ever said that to me, but that was one I went to before. Then I went to somebody else to get a second opinion, because they were trying to figure out what was wrong with my eyes, because like one eye is, I don't know, one eye is like really, really weak compared to the other one. And it was just a whole set of things. So they couldn't figure out how to do my glasses, so to speak, because my eyes are just strange. So that, I found that pretty interesting, because she said, you're wear shades whenever you go, because in the sun, because your eyes are sensitive to sunlight. And then another one is, and these are just some things that they've noticed with people with RH blood. Another thing is, which I thought was super, super interesting, and that is that we have a high intuition. And I knew this from the time I was a little girl, because I knew that my intuition was really high. And people used to think that I'm not all there. They thought that I was from another planet. And because of things that I knew and things, they just, and hence I grew up somewhat of a loner. I would have like friends, but they never really stayed in my life. Like I see people have like friends that they had from the time they were going to school, and they still have these people as friends. I mean, close friends, But for me, that was never the case for me. I would have friends, and it was like people were only coming into my life for a season, because it's like I always had a job to do. So the Most High did not want me, and there were so many people that came into my life and tried to detract me from the calling that I had. But they would never last, because the Most High knew the calling He had for me, and knew what I'm supposed to do, because I'm supposed to be here for such a time as this. And the people in my life that were going to lead me astray or whatever never stayed in my life. And I always wondered why. I always thought, is something wrong with me? Why I don't have any friends? But now, at my age, I am glad that I am like that, because the reason I'm glad that I'm like that is because right now, all I want is my peace. So I choose to be like that. I love everybody, but not everybody is going to be in my... Well, I love most people I've met, but not everybody is going to be in my space, because I don't want anybody to be in my space that is going to affect my growth and my space and my peace and my joy and all of those things, and my happiness and all of those things. Something that we didn't do before we start, which I would love to start doing before we start. I did it before I turned on the camera, but I want us to do it together. And that is to breathe, because I realize it really, really, really helps. Because what it does, it sends that blood flow flowing through your body to your heart and all of that, and it keeps your heart going and pumping at a rhythm they're supposed to pump at. It's supposed to pump. So let's breathe. We're going to do 3 deep breaths. So I hope that you're still here with me, listening to everything I have to say, because this is so good. It is so, so, so good. All right, so let's breathe. Close our eyes. So we're not only breathing, but we have some tea. So this feels so good when I do that, because I can feel it all in my head. Oh, that was so good. So, so good. Did you all enjoy it? I enjoyed it. I loved it. So I also hope that y'all are enjoying this topic. So those are the things that they said about people with Rh negative blood. Another thing that I found so cool, so, so cool, is that the Rh negative blood are less likely to be affected with certain diseases. And they say like heart disease and HIV/AIDS and certain cancers. And I thought that was like so super cool. And the more I do this, the more excited I get, because the more it makes me realize you are special after all. So for those of you out there that are Rh negative blood, I'm not saying that the others aren't special, but we are really special. All right? Rh positive individuals that have at least one copy of the dominant Rh. So what they're saying here is that we have 2 copies of the recessive gene, and they have 1 copy of the dominant gene. A protein is present on the surface of the red blood cells. The blood that lacks this protein is classified as rhesus negative. So the protein that is present on the surface of the red blood cells are people that are rhesus positive, and the one that lack that protein is rhesus negative. All right. Ice blood could think that the fetus is a foreign threat and produce antibodies to attack it, leading to a condition called hemolytic disease, which is, I'll put it there for you, the spelling. So what they do is they give that injection that I really can't pronounce to prevent this reaction, ensuring the safety of the mother and the baby. And I also told you that how important it is for blood transfusions, because we can only receive blood from Rh negative people, and but we can give blood. I always heard that. I just never bothered to find out much more about the blood type. But I always heard that. We can give blood to anybody. And that's why I don't think that sometimes we need to walk around telling people, because really and truthfully, when I was doing this, I was contemplating, but I said, how can I be doing this? But one of the theories out there, and for those of you that read the book of Enoch or know about the book of Enoch, talks about the fallen angels come down and they mated with the women, and the women got children, which were giants, which were the Nephilims and things. But one of the theories out there is saying that the Anunnaki were a race of powerful deities, and it is believed that the Anunnaki race created a hybrid race, instilling the DNA in the gene pool of the Rh negative blood. And the Nephilim hybrids refer to the fallen angels. Now, this is information that I got via research and stuff like that. But as I said, I do believe that we are persons with Rh negative blood are we definitely have a blood that was infiltrated there, and it is not a blood from this earth. But I just find it hard to believe that it is from the fallen angels, because so much of us are called. There are a lot of us that are called, but few are actually chosen. And a lot of us that are called, we try our best to do things for good and not for evil. And I don't know what else to say where this video is concerned, but one thing I will say is that for those of you out there that have the Rh negative blood, don't think that you are alien. Don't think that you come from a species of aliens. Don't think anything like that. Consider yourself just special. Just consider yourself special, because that's what I've learned over the years. Even without doing this research, I've learned that over the years that I'm just special. The things that I know, the things that I see, and the life that I went through, and I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm special. We all are special. It doesn't matter positive, negative, what, we all are special. So I think that I'm going to close off this video here tonight, and I hope that you understood a little bit of what I was saying and that you could pull something from it. And remember, find out your blood type. I know a lot of the times doctors don't want to tell you these things anymore for whatever reason, I don't know. But find out your blood type and see what you are. And, when you see what you are, then you'll be able to go from there, because then you'll be able to understand a lot of things that is happening to you. Because another thing is that I'm going to go into that in another video, but one thing I realize is that there's certain foods that we can't eat. There's certain foods that we're not supposed to eat. And it took me years and years and years to figure that out. But there's certain foods with our blood type that we're not supposed to eat, because one thing the doctor had said to my mom when I was younger, when she gave me the thing and it brought out stuff on my skin. One thing doctor had said is that my blood is very acidic. So I know for sure I cannot use anything that is too acid. I try not to use a lot of sugar. I use more honey than sugar. That's why you will see whenever I have my teas, they're just sweeter with a little bit of honey. I get my sugars when I make my juices, which I use the cane sugar. And things like corn, definitely I'm allergic to corn. I'm allergic to some fruits. I always used to say, well, I feel as though I can't eat anything. But there's some people that might be allergic to gluten. I don't eat that much, like bread and different things like that. So I don't think it gets a chance to thing. But when I eat too much bread, I do feel bloated. I feel puffy and I feel bloated, as though the yeast is just coming like thing in my stomach or whatever. But if it is anything else that I have left out and y'all could add to it in the comments, please do so, because we're learning from each other. Because I'm learning, all of what I have here are just things that I knew from my own life and things that I would have researched on the internet and stuff like that. So I hope that this topic was a blessing to you, and I hope that you would share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel once again and like the content, because the only way these things are going to get out to other people is if you like the content. But I know sometimes why people don't like to like the content, because there's so much people on YouTube now doing certain things and doing the same thing, and I know it has become very saturated, and I know it could become very overwhelming, because especially if you're trying to watch something and because you press the notification bell, to certain people these notifications keep coming all the time. It could become very frustrating. But just remember, I'm a very small channel, and do me the honors of considering to subscribe to this channel. And I thank you so much for all of you that have already subscribed and already liked my videos. I want to thank you all so much. And I am going to say grace and favor and peace to all of you. And remember, every time you go there, spread the love and let your light shine. So until I see you again next time, I am Annie, and this is Sweet Annie's Faith. Thank you so much.